You're sitting across from someone you trust. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's someone you work with every single day. They're smiling. They're saying all the right things. But something feels wrong. You can't name it. You can't prove it. But deep in your gut, in that primal part of your brain that kept your ancestors alive, something is screaming. And you ignore it. Because they seem so normal. So reasonable. So concerned about you. That's the first mistake. That's when the game begins. And by the time you realize you're playing, you've already lost 3 rounds. Your mind is not entirely your own. Not anymore. Not if they've gotten inside. And the terrifying truth is this: psychopaths don't announce themselves. They don't wear signs. They don't reveal their intentions until you're so tangled in their web that escape feels impossible. They study you. They learn you. They play games with your perception of reality so subtle, so careful, that you'll defend them even as they destroy you. I've spent years studying these patterns. Reading case files. Interviewing victims who didn't know they were victims until it was almost too late. Talking to the rare few who got out and understood what happened to them. And what I've learned will change how you see every relationship in your life. Because right now, as you listen to this, someone you know is playing at least one of these games. Maybe with you. Maybe with someone you love. And they're winning because you don't know the rules. This isn't theory. This isn't speculation. These are the 17 mind games psychopaths play before you realize it. Before you see them. Before you understand that the person you trusted has been systematically dismantling your sense of reality, your confidence, your very identity. And here's what makes it worse. These games don't feel like manipulation when they're happening. They feel like love. Like friendship. Like someone finally understanding you. That's the trap. That's the brilliance of it. That's why it works. Let me tell you about Sarah. 32 years old. Marketing executive. Smart, successful, independent. She met him at a conference. He was charming, attentive. He remembered everything she said. Their first conversation lasted 3 hours, and she felt like she'd known him her entire life. He texted her the next day. Then the day after that. He wanted to know about her day, her dreams, her fears. He opened up to her in ways that felt vulnerable, real. Within 2 weeks, she told him things she'd never told anyone. Within a month, he told her he loved her. And she believed him. Because it felt true. It felt overwhelming. It felt like fate. What Sarah didn't know was that she was in the middle of game number 1. The mirror game. He wasn't falling in love with her. He was reflecting her back to herself. Every interest she mentioned, he suddenly shared. Every value she expressed, he claimed as his own. Every dream she whispered, he promised to help her achieve. He became her perfect match not because he was, but because he studied her like a doctoral thesis and gave her exactly what she craved. Psychopaths are exceptional at this. They don't have deep personalities of their own, so they borrow yours. They become your soulmate by erasing themselves and showing you only what you want to see. It's called mirroring, and it's the foundation every other game is built on. By month 2, Sarah had introduced him to her friends. By month 3, he'd moved in. And that's when game number 2 started. The isolation game. It happened so slowly she didn't notice. He didn't tell her to stop seeing her friends. He just got quiet when she made plans with them. He seemed hurt. Disappointed. He'd say things like, "I thought we were spending tonight together," in a tone that made her feel guilty for having a life outside of him. When she came home from dinner with her sister, he'd be cold. Distant. And when she asked what was wrong, he'd say, "Nothing. I just thought I mattered to you." So she started canceling plans. Not because he demanded it. Because disappointing him felt worse than disappointing everyone else. That's the game. They don't control you with force. They control you with emotion. With the fear of losing their approval. With the subtle implication that loving them means choosing them over everyone else. And slowly, without realizing it, you do. Your mind is not entirely your own. Not when someone's rewriting the rules of what love means. Not when someone's training you to prioritize their feelings over your own instincts. Sarah's friends noticed she was pulling away. They called. They texted. And he was always there when she answered, listening, watching. She started keeping her responses short, neutral. Because she didn't want to deal with his mood afterward. She didn't want to explain why her friends were worried. She didn't want to hear him say, "They just don't understand us." But that's exactly what he said. Every single time. Until she started believing it. Until she started thinking maybe her friends were the problem. Maybe they were jealous. Maybe they couldn't handle how intense and real her relationship was. That's game number 3. The us against them game. Psychopaths position themselves as your only ally in a hostile world. Everyone else becomes the enemy. Your family doesn't understand you. Your friends are toxic. Your coworkers are jealous. It's just you and them. You and them against everyone. And once you believe that, you're completely alone. Completely dependent. Completely theirs. But Sarah still had her job. She was good at it. She got promoted. And that's when everything shifted. He congratulated her. Took her to dinner. Made a toast to her success. Then, 2 days later, he started asking questions. Innocent questions. Was her boss male? Did he work late too? What did they talk about? She laughed it off at first. Reassured him. But the questions kept coming. More specific. More frequent. More accusatory. You seem different when you come home from work. Are you sure nothing's happening? She told him he was being ridiculous. He apologized. Said he was just insecure because he loved her so much. Said he couldn't stand the thought of losing her. And she felt bad for him. She tried to be more transparent. Started telling him about every conversation, every meeting, every email. Started dressing down for work because he'd made a comment about her new suit looking like she was trying to impress someone. That's game number 4. The suspicion game. They plant seeds of doubt about your faithfulness, your loyalty, your intentions. Not because they believe you're cheating. Because they want you constantly defending yourself. Constantly proving your innocence. Constantly modifying your behavior to ease their fears. It's control disguised as love. It's ownership disguised as insecurity. Think about this right now. Has anyone ever made you feel like you had to prove you weren't doing something wrong when you knew you weren't? Has anyone ever made you change how you dress, who you talk to, where you go, just to avoid their suspicion? That's not love. That's a game. And if you're playing it, you're losing. 6 months in, Sarah barely recognized herself. She'd stopped seeing her friends. Stopped talking to her family as much. Started second-guessing every decision. And then came game number 5. The hot and cold game. Some days he was the man she fell in love with. Attentive. Loving. Making her feel like the center of his universe. Other days he was distant. Critical. Cold. And she never knew which version she'd get. She'd wake up and have to read his mood, his energy, his face, to figure out how to act. When he was warm, she felt relief. Gratitude. She'd do anything to keep him that way. When he was cold, she felt panic. Desperation. She'd analyze everything she'd said and done, trying to figure out what she did wrong. This is called intermittent reinforcement. And it's the most powerful psychological conditioning tool that exists. Casinos use it. Addictions are built on it. And psychopaths wield it like a weapon. Because when you don't know if you're going to get love or rejection, you become addicted to the pursuit of love. You'll do anything for it. Tolerate anything. Ignore every red flag. Because those moments when they're loving you feel so good, so validating, so necessary, that you'll endure the cold just to experience the warmth again. Your mind is not entirely your own. Not when someone's conditioning you like a lab animal. Not when your entire emotional state depends on their approval. Sarah started walking on eggshells. Started anticipating his needs before he voiced them. Started apologizing for things that weren't her fault just to keep the peace. And that's exactly what he wanted. That's game number 6. The apology game. He'd do something hurtful. Something cruel. And somehow, by the end of the conversation, she'd be the one apologizing. He'd twist her words. Misinterpret her intentions. Play the victim. Make her feel like her reasonable reaction to his unreasonable behavior was the real problem. I only got angry because you made me feel unimportant. I only said that because you hurt me first. I'm sorry you feel that way. That last one isn't an apology. It's blame dressed up as remorse. And if you've ever heard it, you know exactly what I mean. Psychopaths never take real responsibility. They can't, because admitting fault would mean acknowledging they did something wrong, and they don't believe they ever do. So they train you to take responsibility for everything. Your feelings, their feelings, the relationship, the problems, all of it. And you do it because you're a good person. Because you believe relationships require work. Because you think if you just try harder, communicate better, love more, things will get better. But they won't. Because you're not in a relationship. You're in a game. And the rules change every time you think you've figured them out. One night, Sarah finally broke. She told him she needed space. That she felt suffocated. That she needed to reconnect with her friends. He listened quietly. Nodded. Seemed understanding. Then he said, "I think that's really brave of you. I've been worried about your mental health." Game number 7. The concern game. When you start pulling away, they don't get angry. Not at first. They get worried. They frame your resistance as instability. Your boundaries as symptoms. Your clarity as confusion. You haven't been yourself lately. I think you might be depressed. Have you considered therapy? It's genius, really. Because now if you leave, you're not making a healthy choice. You're having a breakdown. You're not thinking clearly. You're not well. And everyone around you, if there's anyone left, will see them as the concerned partner trying to help you, not the person who drove you to this edge. Sarah started doubting herself. Maybe she was overreacting. Maybe she was the problem. Maybe she was being too sensitive, too dramatic, too demanding. That's what he told her. Gently. Lovingly. With such convincing concern that she believed him. That's game number 8. The self-doubt game. They don't tell you you're wrong. They make you believe you're wrong. They question your memory, your perception, your reality. That's not what happened. You're remembering it wrong. I never said that. Even when you absolutely know what you heard, what you saw, what happened, they'll look you in the eye and tell you you're mistaken. With such confidence, such certainty, that you start to think maybe you are losing it. Maybe your mind is playing tricks on you. Maybe you can't trust yourself. This is gaslighting. And it's not just a game. It's psychological warfare. Let that sink in. The person who claims to love you is systematically destroying your ability to trust your own mind. Because if you can't trust yourself, you have to trust them. You have to rely on their version of reality. You have to accept their truth as the truth. And once that happens, they own you. Sarah stayed. Of course she stayed. Where would she go? Who would believe her? He hadn't hit her. Hadn't cheated on her. Hadn't done anything she could point to and say, "This is abuse." He was just concerned. Just loving. Just trying to help her through whatever she was going through. Her friends had drifted away. Her family thought he was wonderful. She'd convinced everyone, including herself, that she was the lucky one. That he was patient. That he was staying with her despite her problems. That's game number 9. The narrative game. Psychopaths control the story. They tell everyone how worried they are about you. How difficult you've been. How much they're sacrificing to stay with you. They create a narrative where they're the hero and you're the burden. So if you ever do leave, if you ever do speak up, no one believes you. Because he's been laying the groundwork for months. Years. Telling everyone how unstable you are. How jealous. How paranoid. And they believed him because he was so convincing. So calm. So reasonable. Your mind is not entirely your own. Not when someone's rewritten your history. Not when someone's convinced the world that your truth is delusion. 1 year in, Sarah tried to leave. Packed a bag. Told him she was done. And he cried. Game number 10. The breakdown game. He didn't argue. Didn't get angry. He collapsed. Told her he couldn't live without her. That she was the only good thing in his life. That he'd made mistakes but he was getting help. That he'd already booked a therapy appointment. That he'd change. That he couldn't lose her. And she felt his pain. She felt responsible for it. She unpacked her bag. Cancelled her plans. Because leaving him felt like murder. Like abandonment. Like proof that she was the heartless one. That's the game. They make you responsible for their emotional survival. They make leaving feel like killing them. And you can't do it. You can't carry that weight. So you stay. And the cycle continues. But here's what Sarah didn't know. What most people don't know. Those tears? Rehearsed. That breakdown? Calculated. That therapy appointment? Never made. It was game number 11. The false promise game. Psychopaths are excellent at promising change. They'll say anything to keep you from leaving. They'll agree to therapy, to couples counseling, to anger management, to whatever you need to hear. And for a few days, maybe a few weeks, they'll be different. Better. Like the person you fell in love with. But it doesn't last. It can't last. Because they're not changing. They're performing. They're doing the minimum required to keep you hooked. And the second you relax, the second you believe them, the games start again. Worse than before. Because now they know what it takes to keep you. Now they know your breaking point. And they'll push you right up to that edge over and over, knowing you'll never quite step over it. Sarah stayed another 6 months. And in that time, she experienced game number 12. The punishment game. Every time she expressed a need, set a boundary, or questioned him, he'd withdraw. Go silent. Disappear emotionally. Sometimes for hours. Sometimes for days. He wouldn't yell. Wouldn't argue. He'd just go cold. Stone silent. And she'd feel the absence of him like a physical ache. She'd apologize even when she didn't know what she was apologizing for. She'd beg him to talk to her. To look at her. To acknowledge her. And when he finally did, when he finally came back, the relief was so overwhelming that she'd forget what she was upset about in the first place. That's the silent treatment. And it's not passive. It's one of the most aggressive forms of emotional abuse that exists. It's teaching you that your voice has consequences. That speaking up means losing them. That your needs aren't worth the risk. So, think about this. Have you ever been frozen out by someone you loved? Have you ever felt the panic of being ignored? The desperate need to fix whatever you did wrong, even when you did nothing wrong? That's the game working. That's your attachment system being weaponized against you. By the time Sarah hit 18 months, she'd lost herself completely. She didn't know what she thought anymore. Didn't know what she wanted. Didn't trust her own feelings. And that's when game number 13 appeared. The comparison game. He started mentioning other women. How confident they were. How easygoing. How they didn't make things so complicated. He wasn't threatening to leave. He was just observing. Just noticing. Just wishing Sarah could be a little more like them. And she tried. God, she tried. She changed her hair. Her clothes. Her personality. Tried to be less needy, less emotional, less difficult. Tried to be whoever he wanted her to be. That's the game. They make you compete with ghosts. With exes. With imaginary women who don't complain, don't have boundaries, don't take up space. They make you feel replaceable. Dispensable. Like you're lucky they're tolerating you at all. And you scramble to prove your worth. To be enough. To be chosen. When the truth is, you were never in competition. Because none of those other women exist. Not the way he describes them. They're just tools. Just weapons. Just another way to keep you small and desperate and controllable. Your mind is not entirely your own. Not when you're constantly trying to become someone else. Not when you're erasing yourself to fit someone's impossible standard. Sarah's mom finally intervened. Showed up unannounced. Saw her daughter, really saw her, for the first time in over a year. She looked hollow. Exhausted. Afraid. Her mom asked her to come home for a weekend. Just a weekend. And he agreed. Too easily. With a smile that didn't reach his eyes. That's game number 14. The release game. Psychopaths know when to ease up. When you're at your breaking point, when people are starting to notice, when the mask is slipping, they'll give you space. Let you breathe. Let you visit family, see friends, have a weekend to yourself. And you'll feel relief. You'll feel grateful. You'll think maybe things are getting better. Maybe he's changing. Maybe you were wrong about everything. But you weren't wrong. This is strategy. This is him giving you just enough freedom to prevent you from escaping entirely. Just enough kindness to reset your tolerance for cruelty. Just enough space to make you forget why you needed it in the first place. Sarah spent the weekend with her mom. Slept 14 hours. But didn't know why. Her mom asked gentle questions. Didn't push. Just listened. And Sarah started talking. Started remembering. Started seeing patterns she'd been too close to notice. Her mom didn't tell her what to do. Just asked one question, "Are you happy?" And Sarah realized she couldn't remember the last time she was. That's when game number 15 revealed itself. The amnesia game. Psychopaths make you forget joy. They make you forget what peace feels like, what confidence feels like, what being loved without conditions feels like. They keep you in such a constant state of anxiety and hypervigilance that calm becomes foreign. Happiness becomes suspicious. You forget that relationships aren't supposed to hurt. That love isn't supposed to feel like drowning. That you're supposed to feel safe with the person you're with, not terrified of disappointing them. They steal your baseline. Your normal. Your understanding of what healthy even means. And without that reference point, you don't know you're being abused. You just think relationships are hard. That love is complicated. That this is what commitment looks like. Sarah went back. But something had shifted. She started watching him. Really watching him. And she saw game number 16. The charm game. When other people were around, he transformed. He was funny, attentive, affectionate. He touched her gently, spoke to her kindly, made jokes about what a great team they were. And everyone loved him. Everyone told her how lucky she was. And she'd look at him, at this performance, and feel crazy. Because this wasn't the man she lived with. This wasn't the man who went silent for days. Who made her feel worthless. Who controlled every aspect of her life. This was a stranger. A mask. And he'd wear it so convincingly that even she would doubt her own experience. That's the public face. The persona. Psychopaths are social chameleons. They know exactly how to appear normal, charming, successful. They know what to say, how to act, what face to wear. And they use that charm to isolate you further. Because who's going to believe you when you say this wonderful, kind, generous man is destroying you? Who's going to see the truth when he's so skilled at hiding it? The mask isn't for you. It's for everyone else. It's insurance. It's plausible deniability. It's making sure that if you ever do speak up, you'll be the one who sounds crazy. Sarah finally saw it. All of it. The games. The patterns. The systematic destruction of everything she'd been. And she made a plan. Quietly. Carefully. She started documenting. Saving messages. Recording conversations. Rebuilding connections with friends. Opening a separate bank account. Finding a therapist. She didn't tell him. Didn't confront him. Because she knew what would happen. Game number 17. The escalation game. When psychopaths realize they're losing control, they don't back down. They escalate. They become more charming or more cruel. More attentive or more absent. More loving or more dangerous. They'll propose. Get you pregnant. Sabotage your job. Threaten themselves. Threaten you. Whatever it takes to re-establish control. Because losing control is intolerable to them. Not because they love you. Because you're theirs. You're their supply. Their project. They're proof that they can manipulate and control. And they will do anything, to keep you. Sarah left on a Tuesday morning. While he was at work. She took only what she needed. Left a note. Blocked his number. Stayed with her mom. He tried everything. Crying voicemails. Angry texts from new numbers. Messages from mutual friends saying he was worried about her. Flowers at her mom's house. Promises. Threats. Please. And part of her wanted to respond. Wanted to explain. Wanted to make him understand. But she didn't. Because she finally understood something crucial. You can't win a game when the other person is playing by different rules. You can't reason with someone who sees you as an object, not a person. You can't love someone into changing when they don't believe they need to change. The only winning move is not to play. Your mind is not entirely your own. Not while you're still in the game. But it can be again. It takes time. Therapy. Distance. Community. It takes relearning how to trust yourself. How to recognize red flags. How to understand that love doesn't hurt. That real love doesn't play games. That real love doesn't require you to shrink, to hide, to constantly prove your worth. Sarah's been out for 3 years now. She still catches herself sometimes. Still hears his voice in her head questioning her decisions. Still feels that old panic when someone goes quiet. Still struggles with self-doubt. The games leave scars. They rewire your brain. They change how you see yourself and others. But she's healing. Slowly. Carefully. She's rebuilding her sense of self. Reconnecting with who she was before him. Learning what healthy relationships look like. Learning to recognize the games before they're too deep to escape. And now you know them too. All 17. The mirror game. The isolation game. The us against them game. The suspicion game. The hot and cold game. The apology game. The concern game. The self-doubt game. The narrative game. The breakdown game. The false promise game. The punishment game. The comparison game. The release game. The amnesia game. The charm game. The escalation game. You know what they look like, how they feel, why they work. And that knowledge is power. That knowledge is protection. That knowledge might save your life. Or someone else's. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. Psychopaths rely on your ignorance. On your empathy. On your belief that everyone operates with the same moral code you do. They rely on you not recognizing the games until you're so entangled that escape seems impossible. But it's not impossible. It's hard. It's terrifying. It requires support and planning and courage. But it's not impossible. And the first step is seeing. Really seeing. Not making excuses. Not giving them the benefit of the doubt. Not believing they'll change. Just seeing them for what they are. Players. Manipulators. Predators wearing human masks. Look at your relationships right now. All of them. Romantic, familial, professional, friendships. Are you walking on eggshells? Are you constantly apologizing? Are you isolated from people who care about you? Are you doubting your own memory, your own perception, your own worth? Are you exhausted from trying to keep someone else happy? Are you becoming someone you don't recognize? These aren't signs of a difficult relationship. These are signs of a dangerous one. These are signs that someone is playing games with your mind. And you need to get out. Not eventually. Not when they change. Not after one more chance. Your mind is not entirely your own. Not yet. But it can be. You just have to stop playing. You have to walk away from the board. You have to accept that you're not going to get closure. You're not going to get an apology. You're not going to get them to understand what they did to you. Because they know. They've always known. They just don't care. And accepting that, truly accepting that, is what sets you free. So here's what I need you to do. If you recognized yourself in Sarah's story, if you saw your relationship in these games, if your stomach dropped even once during this, reach out to a friend, a family member, a therapist, a domestic violence hotline. Tell someone what's happening, not the person who's playing the games with you. Someone safe, someone outside, someone who can help you see clearly, because you can't do this alone. That's what they want. That's what they've been conditioning you for. They want you isolated, confused, dependent. So do the opposite. Connect. Ask for help. Start planning your exit. And if you didn't recognize yourself, if you're listening to this and thinking about someone you know, someone who's pulled away, someone who's changed, someone who's with a person who doesn't sit right with you, reach out to them. Not with judgment, not with lectures, just with presence. Let them know you see them. You miss them. You're there if they need anything. No pressure. No ultimatums. Just a lifeline. Because they might be drowning. And they might not even know it yet. The games are real. The damage is real. But so is recovery. So is freedom. So is reclaiming your mind, your identity, your life. You're not broken. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive or too difficult or too much. You're being manipulated. And now you know it. Now you see it. Now you're dangerous to them. Because an aware victim is no longer a victim. An aware victim is a survivor in the making. Someone who knows the games. Someone who refuses to play. Someone who chooses themselves over someone else's control. Your mind is yours. It's always been yours. They just made you forget that. Time to remember. Time to take it back. Time to walk away from the game and never look back. Because here's the final truth, the one that will haunt them more than anything else. You don't need them. You never did. You just believed you did. And that belief was the biggest game of all. So ask yourself, right now, in this moment, who's pulling your strings? Who's rewriting your reality? Who's playing games with your mind? And what are you going to do about it? Because the next move is yours. And for the first time in a long time, maybe ever, you know exactly what game you're in. The question is, are you ready to stop playing?